Hero Time starts now.
Hi, I'm Johnny Young Bosch, and you're listening to Ranger Recap.
Okay, so, guys, we got a small issue here. I have not seen our guest for tonight. It might be running a little bit late, I'm not sure. So, here's what we're gonna do. Just for the sake of it, I'm gonna run the randomizer, just in case. If he shows up later, we'll do what we've got planned, but we'll run the randomizer, and we'll do a classic riff for now. So, you guys ready for this?
Sure, why not?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Randomizer, away!
Wait, what the?
What?
What'd you do? John, what'd you do?
Guy, wait, hold on. Who are you? Who's this?
Hey, just play some music, all right, man? Play music.
All right.
Okay.
Play some music, please. Play, please. Come on, play.
Let's do it.
Play.
Well, here come the Rangers. They're ready for you. Well, here come the Rangers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ranger Recap, the only Power Rangers podcast that asks the question, are you rocking in the free world? I hope so.
Good one.
Yep. Trust me, that's topical.
Oh, the chat has figured it out, and they are going wild right now.
They know. You know. They figured it out. Very clever people out there.
Well, there goes my classy intro. Well, our work here is done.
What do you mean our work here is done? We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Really, I
Didn't
just
we?
got here. Come on. We're just beginning. You got to deal with me now.
Oh, folks, let me tell you now. Surprise, motherfuckers! If you did not expect this, though, I'm gonna say this right now. Actually, first, let's get the actual intro out of the way, easy.
Yes. For those of you who are using this episode as a jumping on point, first, why?
Good call.
Secondly, I am the Toku guy, Easy Rider. That's your anime maverick numeral uno, the shades over there, and Big Blue over there is Matty Jay. He's the wrestling guy. Yes.
How you doing?
And of course,
Yeah, but I think I can safely say this is a different episode of the Ranger Recap. I think we can call this. Oh, it just came to me. I had something for this. I think we can call this a Ranger Recap now.
No, oh God.
oh god, say yes, ladies
I'll
and
hit myself.
yes.
I'll hit myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
We have our days, folks. But ladies
I'm
and
sorry,
gentlemen,
I have to go.
you scared them off, easy. Congratulations. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone here tonight. You guys have been wondering, though I gotta say, if you had been paying attention last week, you might have been spoiled to this because I kind of left a bit of an obvious clue in the credits last week and nobody caught it. But yes, our guest tonight is the mighty Raw Fisher himself, Mr. Ron Wasserman. How we doing?
Great. How are you guys doing? Great to talk to you.
Same to you, my friend. It is truly an honor.
Yeah.
I've been a nervous wreck all day, but I'm fine.
I was nervous all day too. It was terrible. I had to pee and pee and pee. Just so nervous. Nervous. Wait a minute. No, that was yesterday.
Oh.
I'm fine today. Sorry, I messed that up.
Oh my god. Oh,
So
folks,
how are we all doing, guys?
Oh, we're
Everyone
doing
good?
fantastic.
Good.
Great.
Oh,
So what do you want
man.
to talk about? Let's talk politics.
No. That is a disaster waiting to happen.
How about no?
Let's not say we did.
So,
That's out of the way.
great. Great. Ron Wasserman's here. Got nothing to talk about. So, how about them Knicks?
Oh, please. We got plenty to talk about. We got a legend in the industry here. Most of you guys know him for some of the most amazing themes in Power Rangers history. Hell, we use his music here on this very show. So I just
Don't
tell you,
sue Ron.
Well, thank you.
no, we've already covered that, thankfully. But yeah, we do have some. First of all, like, I think the most obvious question is, how exactly did you get started into this whole thing?
I was in bands in the 80s, and then one of the guitar player, he ended up getting a job at Saban, and around 1989 he called me in to engineer, which means recording and mixing the music for one of their composers. And for the first 7 hours, we sat around and chatted, and then the guy worked for an hour, and for that he made $450. Now, I was living on credit cards. I mean, I was just broke as could be and struggling to get anywhere in the industry. So I just said, I've got to learn more about this TV scoring stuff. And to tell you the truth, I just stayed there in their studios for free. And then they brought me in part-time and then full-time. And it took about 3 years of me writing and submitting stuff. Plus I was always mixing the other composers' cues. And I kept getting notes, and everything was always rejected. And I think I got one little cue in a show called Camp Candy once, but I couldn't get anything else going. And one night they came in with some footage and said, there's this show called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and we need a theme tonight. And I remember not quite hearing them right because I worked at night. And so just as I showed up, they were leaving. So I remember calling my friend and saying, it's Morphin or Morphine? Are these Morphine Rangers? And he said, no, it's Morphin. And I said, okay. And from the time I sat down, because I was working on something else with a project with my wife, and I really wasn't in the mood to do it. It was just kind of a weird night. And so I just, from seeing a little footage or some pictures, I can't remember, I just banged the theme out in 2.5 hours from this, we need a theme, to it being done. And just like the other stuff I'd done previously, I kind of finished it and I went, well, I love it. They'll probably hate it. And and that was it. And the next day they called and they said, Fox loves it. And I said, well, who's going to sing it? And they said, no, they love it. So you're the singer now. So it was literally an overnight. I've gone from I can't get anything going to, well, now I have a theme on a show and I'm a singer. Okay. I've never, I mean, yeah, I hadn't sung on anything before other than some guide vocals for other singers or for my wife. I never took it seriously at all. And so I learned quick how to create that voice, which means gargling ice cold Diet Pepsi to tighten up my vocal cords.
So 2.5 hours and a couple of bottles of Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, that's it.
That is amazing.
And every vocal I did after that, I was just gargling. And, I sing wrong. It's all through my throat. A proper singer uses their diaphragm. So I would sing until my vision would go blurry because my sinuses were swelling up in my head. But I always made the deadline, even if I couldn't see walking out of the studio. And that's really the truth. It just screwed with my head from singing, not really loud, but just this guttural place in my throat to get that voice. And those harmonies are so high. And back then, everything was done to tape, nothing to computer. So if you didn't sing it right, you had to go back and do it again and again until you got it right. It was a very long process back then.
And now here we are 25 plus years later, and you have one of the most memorable themes in television history. So obviously you did something right.
Yeah, that was a good night. Really good night.
I've come to the realization that a lot of the best creative moments are the things that you don't make a big plan out of. It just off the cuff, you just come up with it on the fly, and they just end up being the best. So not that surprising, really, but still awesome.
Well, that's why it's always best for me and always has been to have extreme deadlines, because it's not enough time to sit around and think. You just have to create right away. So that's always worked best for me. If I get too much time, and this is really true with anything, just you start overthinking it a bit and it starts getting a little vanilla. So it's best to just jump on it and get it over with. And that stuff seems to last the longest. And when producers don't give you too many notes.
Yeah, that's always important. Executive meddling has always been the bane of creativity, from what I've learned.
Yeah, I know. They will fuck your head up every time. Something awful. Something awful.
That's sage advice.
And yes, folks, we are going to accept some questions from you guys. The only thing we'll ask is, keep it as clean as you can. Don't go too crazy. Well, I mean, we can have fun with it. Don't get me wrong, but just don't go.
Yeah. Go wherever you want.
Be careful what you...
Hey, guys, you'll get a turn when we're done with them.
Yeah.
Learn to share.
Phrasing.
All of the phrasing.
I will make a note of any questions that are popping up that I think are worth asking, so I'll keep it.
All right, you'll put a somewhat filter in there.
Yeah.
What I've
I'll leave
always
that
been
up to you.
curious about the influences of the theme song itself, because obviously it's a heavy metal tune in a sense. What was the influence behind it? Obviously, in 2 hours, not too much to get too many influences, but what were the influences for the theme song itself?
Well, I had always wanted, I've always, even though I wasn't in rock bands like that, metal bands, I always wanted to do that. And I don't know, there was something about the show that just triggered that. And I thought, well, all kid show themes suck, at least up to that point. I mean, they may be clever and cute, but every composer was writing down for the little kids. And I really didn't feel that was right. I thought it would be best to just show full respect and write for adults and do what I wanted to do and make the thing just as, hard rock as I could get away with. And my growing up, I listened to everything across the board, but I was a hardcore, Black Sabbath fan and everything else, and then Metallica later. And that's the stuff that I always found myself getting lost in time with, where other stuff I was listening to or analyzing, but metal was one of the few things that I could be in the car and crank something up, and all of a sudden I was at my destination. So it just kind of always worked for me. It's really, for lack of a better term, just gets to my core and strikes a chord with me. So, and nothing else would have worked. And that's why the themes they've done since then, or other shows that are kind of orchestral, don't work well for me. And especially that rap theme. Oh my God.
Ugh. I'm assuming you're talking about Overdrive.
No, I'm talking about Mystic Force.
Oh,
Was
Mystic Force was that good, but I'll be honest, I'll take that over Overdrive. You want to talk about a rat theme? That was bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's another example where the executives are trying to be hip with the kids. I'm down with the kids in the hood right now. They're listening to rap, and I think we should do that for Power Rangers, and that's what I want. And they end up with crap that no one remembers. I remember I was at a Morphicon and the people for Mystic Force were there, and that subject of the rap thing came up, and I looked over, I said, well, that worked out well for you. That's a real classic, isn't it? And they just wouldn't talk to me the rest of the time. It was great. I love it.
I mean,
I have no breaks. I mean, when with what I went through with that, but I just always call it how it is. I know when to be political in certain situations, but most of the time If you want the truth, talk to me. Even if I get in trouble for it.
I can say with no false modesty, Ron, I prefer your take on the Mystic Force theme. That buries the theme they chose.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I listen to that at work. That's how good it is.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. I blast your music at work. Everyone else thinks I'm crazy, but it's like, why are you listening to all that Power Rangers music? Because it's good. Ron Wasserman kicks ass.
I mean, have you heard the crap in the store?
Exactly.
Well, have you listened to Justin Bieber? Because he's really good and he's a really great writer.
Okay. I will tell you right now, for the record, as a Canadian, we apologize for Justin Bieber, okay? Frank got to him before we could turn him into a good singer, okay?
That's all right. We apologize for Kenny G.
Oh!
He's got me there.
Yeah.
He's got you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the influence. It was I was always listening to everything very loud, and the harder rock it was, the louder I would listen, and the more I would get into it and learn every single part and knew everything. So that's what I guess just came through that night. And for all that following score and for all those songs, every single one almost is about something personal and about, my joyous time dealing with executives at Saban. Some were great. I mean, most were great, but a couple were really driving me crazy. So the songs are a lot about that, having a balance, finally getting somewhere and breaking into the business and then constantly being stepped on, which they were very good at. With everybody.
Trust me, my friend, we have heard many a stories about Saban's treatment of people at Power Rangers, whether it be the actors or people like yourself. The stories are numerous and very egregious. I mean, do I even need to bring up David Yost?
Yeah, really. Such a nice guy. I mean, I'm saying he was because I haven't seen him in forever, but they were all nice. They were just... Yeah, that had to be really hard for them because nobody knew who I was much at that time, but everybody knew who they were, and they were, not getting what they should have gotten.
Yeah. And that, from what we've heard, that continued even in the previous era, what we call the Neo Saban era. That happened more. That a lot of actors were getting mistreated or underpaid and things like that. I mean, it's sad, and hopefully Hasbro does a good job with that. But that's a different topic altogether. We're here to talk about you. Yeah. So let's easy. I assume you.
What do you want to know?
Oh, that's what you guys got a question?
I do.
What you got?
I only got one. I only got one question. Then I think we can open it to the floor, to the chat. Ron, I'm holding a little CD here that I dug out of my archives. It's from another team of superheroes, multicolored superheroes like the Power Rangers. A little show called Sailor Moon. And I notice on the back of here, on track 2, I want someone to love that. Raw Remix. Raw, R-A-W. Is that you, Ron?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, it was.
Wow. Oh my God! Ron Wasserman did music for Sailor Moon. How did this come about? This I gotta hear.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's a new
me
one.
Me and Matty Jay are big time Moonies. You gotta hear this.
Yeah. I had blocked that, but it's back now.
Are you kidding? This music is great.
Also, easy. I think Jody's in the chat.
It was I was doing stuff for Deke Entertainment that I did a ton of stuff for them, but that was one of the shows they were doing at one time. And I think that was right at the beginning when I was working for them. They asked me to write some stuff for that show. And I never turned down an opportunity to work, and the show is cool. I
love it.
I wish I would have gotten the gig to score it, but I didn't get that. But yeah, the show is cool. So it was simply, can you write songs for? I can't remember if it's in the show or just on the CD or what. I really can't remember.
To my knowledge, none of these songs, or a couple of these songs, don't appear in the show, in the deep dub anyway. To my knowledge, but yeah, they're on the CD. I've got 2 CDs actually: Luna Rock, which is the one I mentioned, and the Full Moon Collection, which is, I believe, has a remix or a remix of that song that you did.
Well, I think they really love the stuff, so if they probably said remix your mix, which is fine. But back then, what they were doing, unlike now so much, is they were getting soundtrack deals with labels for these shows. So even though the stuff wasn't in the show, that must have been the case then, where they had to put together 12, 15 songs aside from the theme, as opposed to Saban, like with Sweet Valley High, where everything was used in the show, and then they would release their CDs as well.
So this was literally just a case of, here's some money, write some songs, and thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. That's it.
That's how it always is.
Wow.
I don't mean to make it sound negative, but that's why throughout my career I've had no ego or feel any different. It's just what I do, and yeah, it's just like any job. You get called to mow their lawn, you mow the lawn, they say nice job, they pay you, and you move on. And the relationships, very few last a long time. It's just the nature of the business. Everything's constantly moving forward. The advantage to that is that there's always new people coming into my life, and I'm working with new people. So nothing ever gets stale. So you have to adjust to their wants and needs, and, learn how to navigate that, and yet still find a way to get them to accept some of your vision for what should happen musically.
Awesome.
It's a ton of bullshit. There, I summed it up. It's like,
don't beat yourself up, Ron. These are good songs. I still listen to them to this day.
Oh, no,
Hollywood, Hollywood.
I am plenty happy with the work I've done. Believe me, I love going back. The other day I was at a video game I'm doing. I was at the guy's house, and he was pulling up stuff I did 13 months ago, and I went, shit, this is great. I mean, that's what happens. I'm always writing, so I kind of forget about what I've done, except the really big stuff. And I'm very happy with what I did, but that's just how this business works. It's the same time on shows I've worked on. When they wrap the last episode, it's like always the end of high school. Everybody's like, we'll be friends forever, and we're going to hang out. We're going to do this 2 weeks later. Oh, they blocked me on their phone. Not really, but everybody just drifts off into their new worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun. It's better than going to the same cubicle every day for 25 years. That's for sure.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think any of us like doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's open up the floor to the chat here. We've gotten a ton of questions flooding in here. I'm gonna pick out the ones that I think are gonna be really fun to answer here. Red Rob Likes Disney asks, Ron, what are you proud of in the music of Power Rangers?
I'm proud that when that stuff came out, that it wasn't just kids that were into it. It was also adult males over 35 years old. So I had this split thing where it was kids up to 18 and then 35 to 50-year-olds. So I knew that's what I'm really proud of. To think that some guy without kids went in and bought a CD to listen to the rock stuff and never even watch a show, or maybe just heard about it or watched some of the show, that's something I'm really proud of. And same with X-Men. When I was watching 2 years ago when they did the film and the actors were singing the theme I wrote back for the original series. That is something I was really proud of as well. But Power Rangers, that I was able to have a free hand to do fairly hard rock and get away with murder, which since that show, nobody has ever let me do rock. Nobody.
Boo. They don't know what they're missing out on.
I know. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's always been weird to me. Like, no, that won't work. Yeah. Okay. It's odd.
Yeah, it's like you guys realize that by going with rock, he created one of the most iconic theme songs of all time. Why would you deny this man that opportunity to give you that?
And I literally sat there like, because it doesn't work. I'm like, Power Rangers is one of the most famous themes of all time. Yeah, but it won't work for us. Okay, you can't get through. So I do find it really weird that I did all that and set that, not a standard, but was able to do it and never was able to do it again. So maybe someday, if Hasbro ever calls, I can come back and give the show some balls again. Musically.
That was actually one of the questions in my mind is like, would you, if Hasbro ever gave you the chance, would you come back for their era? Because I think we need you back.
Yeah, thanks. I absolutely would. It would be so fun. And they would just have to be prepared for me. Because I don't want anything that's all. If they're going to go for it, they have to go for it. And they might. I don't know. I would have thought.
Hopefully they treat you better than Disney did.
Oh, Disney,
yeah, I think that goes.
I think he got the raw deal there. No pun intended.
Mickey Mouse would quit Disney if he could, but nobody else will have him.
You ain't wrong.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Now, Disney is difficult. The only thing I still, even when I go to one of their theme parks, just initially I'm like, oh, these poor employees, but they actually get treated well there. But in the television, I can only speak for the television department. It's a little brutal. And that is everybody I know that's ever worked for them, down to somebody who would deliver water. It's a very brutal company. Maybe it's better now, but I don't think so.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that idea.
Nah, me either.
So another question we had here, let me see. We'll go with DL Bot with a win here. Is there one Power Ranger series you wish you could have done the theme song for?
This year.
Beast Wars.
I would love to I would love to have done the most recent, because I guess it would just be really exciting to get back into it. And I haven't really, I can't think of another one that I wish I had done. I think I kind of left right at the right time and it went through its phase. And then Disney owned it for so long, so not under Disney's reign, that's for sure.
I don't blame you there. But yeah, Hasbro, you heard the man. Get this son of a bitch. I guarantee you, we will love you for it.
You'll be able to get more advertising dollars, Hasbro. More advertising dollars.
There. Fucking bottom line, come on.
Now they heard.
I feel like it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage to have Ron Wasserman at least come back for every era of Power Rangers, excluding Neo Saban because he served his time there and then some. But, Disney brought back. I think Hasbro will come knocking sooner or later because, again, like I said, I think it's a rite of passage for Power Rangers eras.
Mm-hmm.
I do, too. And plus, I should get to work for every company that owns the franchise. I should get to do at least one thing.
Yes.
Because SPD, I guess, was Disney's best rated as far as the theme goes. So, yeah. Well, you never know. They may call. They may not. Who knows? Can't tell. It's all big mystery.
Again, we're pushing for it. Get the hashtag started. Wasserman for Hasbro right now.
They'll pick up
and get him to do some insert songs too, because the insert songs need to make a comeback big time. Because the fight music is so bland. I mean, you can only do Go-Go Power Rangers so many times, or they can only remake your masterpiece so many times before it gets stale. Oh wait, it already has.
Oh, it's so stale. So stale. When I heard the first remix, I'm like, why are they doing that again? And then again and again and again, I went, really? They can't think up anything new?
Wow.
How cheap are those bastards? What is going on?
I know. Put a new drum beat under it and we're done.
This man, he speaks our language. I love it.
Yes.
Oh, we've been saying that for years, and now we get confirmation and validation from the man himself. I think my life is complete now. I can die happy.
And they sound, they just, I don't know. They don't have that thing that comes from the place of honesty and that oomph. The other singers that have done it and whatnot, you can practically hear them reading the music.
Ooh.
The paper rattling on the stand. Like, okay, yeah, I'll get that note. I can get that note. And I think the remake they just did, I think they even fucked up one of the chords in the triad, the triplet part in the guitar thing. I heard on some promo that someone sent me. I'm like, can they at least get the chords right? For God's sakes, how lazy can you be?
And what's even worse is that because of his atonal sound, actually, we should comment. We've got our boy Deshinta in the chat who has commented about this. He actually has a hearing condition, and hearing Noam Keneal's music literally hurts him. Like, full on physically hurts him.
Oh, I have a different... That's a trip. Because for me, it just clears my colon out. And that's really not so bad. Keeps me healthy.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm dreaming. Don't wake me.
No. I'm pinching myself. It's not waking up. I think we're good.
You watch. Next time you hear that, you're going to go, oh, hold on. I need to go to the restroom. You watch.
You know what, gentlemen? I've always, it may be a little TMI, but I've always had the urge to go take a Noam Keneal after the show when we were doing the Power Rangers.
Say that, you son of a bitch!
That's what we'll call it now. We can start a new trend. Oh,
good Lord, we're about to bury Noam Keneal.
Yeah, you have a commercial where a woman.
Oh no.
That's it. They can use it for diarrhea medicine. That'd be great. A woman's holding her tummy, and you hear ah, which is how Noam sings "My Butterfly." There's a song called "My Butterfly" he did when he's 14. You got to find that song online.
Oh God,
somewhere.
no!
It must be somewhere.
Oh God,
that'll give you if you can find it. And I mean, like I have said, beautiful singer. And when he, was a kid, I hear he was, always nice. We always got along when he and I hung out. Very nice guy. But that'll give you the contrast between what's in his soul to create and then what I've done. And what he does is fine. He's like, it's a very light, airy. You got to just hear it. It's great.
Oh, I'm about to Google now.
Go Google it. My Butterfly, Noam Keneal.
Oh,
it's got to be.
While you're doing that, next question.
Yeah.
Next question. As much as I love pounding on Noam Keneal. Next question.
Yes.
Good Lord,
Yes.
what am I doing?
Let's go. Let's see. I'm looking at the document that we got here. Our buddy Diehard has put this up here for us here. Let's go. Actually, let's go with a question here from Cure Crystal. Have you heard any of the Japanese songs for these series? The Super Sentai songs, perhaps like Jetoman's theme?
Well, I don't know about that one in particular, but people over the years have sent me links all the time. Like, you've got to check this out. And, you know, sorry, I was choking. They have such a unique, great style that works for what they're doing that it's really interesting to hear. And to me, it always sounds really sincere. It doesn't sound like a studio singer. So I've always kind of wondered who those people were. They probably are studio singers. Maybe it's just because it's in another language. But it's just, I've always loved this stuff.
Amen to that. They've had some great themes over the years, though not all of them are winners, but most of them are.
Like anything, sure.
Of course, of course. Oh, man.
I believe I found it, gentlemen.
Oh, God.
It did not take less. It took less than a minute.
Des, I know you're in there. If you value your ears, do not click that link.
Yeah, don't click the link, and I'm not going to click it because I got to go to the store and get toilet paper later. So this would be a good time.
I'm listening to it now. What the? What?
Yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy who redoes my theme.
Oh my God!
Better than a bowl of bran flakes, am I right?
I'm so glad I went to the washroom before the show. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Oh my God! All right. Well, obviously you've done a lot more than Power Rangers. So let's, we mentioned Sailor Moon earlier. Die Hard Gamer actually asked the question: how did you come up with the theme song for the X-Men animated series back in the 90s?
That was because, well, it's kind of funny because there was no way to do another rock score because it was so close to Power Rangers. So decided to go with a heavy duty synth score and came up with the foundation for it and the melody. And then that was one of those situations where it took about 2 or 3 weeks to get the theme done and improved because everybody wanted every sound really loud. Like, oh, let's turn up get that bass line up. Bass line comes up. Now I can't hear the hi-hat. Turn the hi-hat up. Oh, now I can't hear the bass. What about the keyboard? Now we can't hear the melody. Needs more hi-hats. There was like 20 tracks of hi-hat on that thing.
Oh,
just kept stacking stuff. And even, every composer has what's known as the producer fader, which, back when we had mixing consoles in front of us, you set up a few faders, which do nothing. And then you slowly move those up and you say, better? Does that sound better? And 100% of the time, they're like, perfect, leave it right there. And you haven't done anything. You're not hooked to anything. But in this, everybody kept listening on their systems. They're like, well, the mix just isn't right. So it took forever. It was really difficult. But the initial skeleton, the initial part of the mix was done in one evening. I so wish I had a copy of the original. The only thing I know for sure is it didn't have the big gong in it, which that was the one good note. Someone said, put in a gong or, a bell. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. That'll fill that little spot. So that was a rough one. So I blocked a lot of that.
My God.
By chance, you mentioned people were asking, this needs more of this, more of that. Anyone ask for more cowbell in there?
Oh, God damn it, Matty!
Absolutely. That would happen. That happened on other shows. That just became the running joke all the time. Like, oh, wait, I can't hear the cowbell. Pretty funny. That's such a funny skit from Saturday Night Live. It's just the best ever.
I have a fever, and the only cure is more cowbell.
There's more cowbell.
Yes.
I think it's a sin that they have not used that X-Men theme in any of the live-action movies yet. Now that Marvel owns it again, I hope they rectify that. Hell, the Power Rangers 2017 movie used the original theme, briefly, and it was only the movie version, but it was there.
Yeah, but they'll never use it because Saban will own that for all time. And Marvel also doesn't really do memorable themes. They do great movies. But I was listening to this on NPR. I remember it was like a year ago. And they said Marvel's really the first company to have all these superhero and futuristic and wonderful films without, the benefit of like a John Williams score where you can remember a melody. So I don't think they'd want that anyways.
Yeah,
they seem to be anti-melody.
Yeah, that's their own fault.
Yeah.
Anyway, next question we got here from JG. Would you ever want to actually be an actor in a Power Ranger season?
Yeah, well, if they won't bring me back for the music, they should be back as what was the pig? He was my favorite character, Punchy Pig.
Pudgy Pig. Oh God.
Yeah.
Bring me back as Pudgy Pig. Blow me up, and then I can say I've gone out that way.
Yes!
We should all be so lucky to go out that way.
I don't know if I was ever. They were. I think somewhere I'm in Sweet Valley High where my wife is singing one of the songs. I'm pretty sure it was Sweet, but I was never in Power Rangers. Actually, I only ever saw the set once. I met the actors only once back when I was there. It was everything was very compartmentalized back then. But it'd be fun to be on.
That'd be cool. Yeah, for real. It'd be interesting to see. That'd be an awesome little. Oh God, damn it, Bio. Pudgy Pig, aka the analog for Operation Overdrive. Ugh.
Oh,
That'd be
boo! Pudgy Pig is more awesome than that.
Oh, I could be Pudgy Pig. I could see it now. I walk on. I take a stance like I'm going to kill the Rangers. They play Noam's My Butterfly, and I poop on the back of the latex suit. And then I blow up.
Oh, this is without doubt the greatest interview we have ever done. Oh my
Picture me
God.
just freezing.
I laughed that hard since I was a little girl. Thank you.
Oh, that would be great.
All right, here's a more legit question here, actually, from our buddy Spade Ace. Are there any singers, bands, etc. you've really wanted to work with but never got the chance?
Yeah, I was working with, I was getting, back when my wife and I got signed, and then Valerie Bertinelli, who was married to Eddie Van Halen from Van Halen, went up to the house. And so Eddie and I were starting to work on some stuff together. Unfortunately, his brother didn't like that, so the plug got pulled. But that was something I was really hoping, is to start a side project with Eddie Van Halen. And who knows where it could have gone. We could have just done a few songs. We might have sounded really good together because he sings, and who knows. So that would have been great fun, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. Other than that, any other rock singer in the world I would love to have written with or worked with, especially Ozzy Osbourne. Well, back when he's not so doing well now, I hear, but back when I met him a few times. He was still all fucked up and crazy, but he was still brilliant. Well, I met him once at a Sundance Film Festival, and Eddie Van Halen wanted me to say hi to him. So I got up to him and I said, Eddie wanted me to say hi. And he goes, Eddie, tell him I say hello, no. And I just went, okay. I went, my God, no wonder you don't go out and do inspirational speeches. You'd be there for 14 hours. Poor guy.
Wow.
That would be bad. Yeah, it's hard for him to get his words out. 300 pounds of acid. So I got to see that up close. Glad I never did it. Oy.
Oh,
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what other questions we got here. One question we've been from our buddy Voice here: are there any particular themes you wanted to play for certain like Rangers in the series? Like, if there's a certain like theme you can like, oh, this guy's motif looks really good. I can make a song out of that.
No,
Character
I mean
song.
that only happened with the only ones that had thematic cues were Bulk and Skull. That was it, and then of course the songs for, you know, Green Ranger, White Ranger, probably Black Ranger, whatever, you know, was featured later, but had to be very careful with that too. And they were very careful with it because the original actors got so mad when the new Ranger came in and was getting all the attention there for a bit. So, very political situation. So that had to watch it. But as far as Bulk and Skull, I mean, when I met Jason and Paul a couple of years ago, I was saying, so you ever wonder about that theme? They're like, yeah, we love it. I go, well, you know, the tuba's for you because you're big, and the little squeaky muted trumpet is for you because you're like a stick. So they thought that was very funny.
Yeah, that sounds like how they'd react. We met those guys. They're a trip. They are a trip.
They are so funny, and they almost had their own series, which would have been great.
I know. I heard about that. Oh, that would have been fun.
Especially they brought Lieutenant Stone along. I miss Lieutenant Stone. Greg Bullock has dropped off the face of the earth. I miss him.
Yeah,
a lot of people do. It's kind of weird. I mean, I think, you know, they fall on some rough times and they end up in another profession and they're just embarrassed. So they want to just hide out because they don't want anybody to ask, what are you doing now?
Man, that's because I talked to Paul at a convention about, it's like, hey, you guys talk to Greg Bullock? Because I'd love to see the Bulk, Skull, and Lieutenant Stone, because they're basically the three stooges of our generation.
Right.
All together at a convention. Tell me that wouldn't sell tickets.
It would, but had they had any contact at all with them?
Other than a esoteric Facebook post a few years back, no, not really. Like Paul said, we're talking to this guy. Yeah, I hope he comes around, or I hope they get him back somehow, somewhere, some way.
Yeah, he should. I mean, these guys travel they do the whole Power Ranger. There's so many conventions for it. It's just remarkable.
Agreed.
I think I got to switch. I may have to switch headphones quickly here. My AirPods, were advertised to last 10 hours, don't.
Are you really surprised?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's a shocker.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm an Android guy.
Same here.
Matt,
Yeah, you don't have to worry about things like wireless headphones working.
Matt, you heard what he said, right? There's a shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's see if this works. If I disappear a moment, I'll be back. Oh, please work.
We're a little bit
Yeah,
Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right,
we'll give you a
it's okay.
topic.
I'm just gonna talk into the phone now. Maybe it'll pick the signal up.
Yeah, maybe. Ooh, someone's just asked us a very good question here, because one thing that a lot of us notice is that, of course, actually, I don't know if you were involved in this, because did you do any of the music for the show Mass Rider?
I may have.
Okay, because there's a couple of songs in Mass Rider that actually showed up in another series, an anime actually, Digimon.
Oh, Digimon.
Oh, you got connection with. Oh, this. I need to hear this.
Oh, we gotta dig deeper now.
Yeah.
Oh, now you got John's attention.
I'm a Digimon fanboy. That's my wheelhouse.
No. Digimon, fine show. But if you're interested to know how that came up, so Pokemon was brought to Saban and shopped to Saban to be a series, and he thought it was a joke, so he didn't get involved with it at all.
What?
So Pokemon, as we know, Pokemon explodes and just becomes so huge to the point where Haim's kids were not allowed to have Pokemon cards or ever bring up the show when they were around him. He was so pissed off.
He literally passed on a boatload of money. He basically passed up the chance to print money. Matty, Chase, do we have a button for that? We have buttons on.
I don't know which one it is.
I got the perfect one because a mistake that big, you need Barrett for this.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So I was going to go with curb your enthusiasm, but that works as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was perfect.
I have a soundboard and I'm not afraid to use it.
And then, I'm sure he said, well, we can't call it Pokemon, so we have to find something with a mon at the end. So how about Digimon, and let's find it. And that's how Digimon came to be. So they probably used stuff in there. And Mass Rider, I do seem to remember doing stuff for. But you have to remember, my average week then, I would have to write at least one Power Ranger song a week, score 9 minutes of the show a night, because we were getting orders for 52 a season, and it was never ending, which was great. Write songs for Sweet Valley High, help out with the score on that, help with every other show that they were producing, all commercials, all promos, sizzle reels, everything they did. So I was there 80 hours a week, and I mean 80 hours a week sitting and writing to keep up with the schedule. So it becomes a little blurry as it got so ridiculous, where, most people say, well, yeah, I'm scoring an episode. And I've had this. I have to score one episode of a sitcom this week. And where I'm, our scores were all wall to wall. And I would think, oh my gosh, I got to do 10 minutes of score tonight between two shows and finish writing a song. So they were incredibly busy times. So sometimes I get a little messed up on what happened when.
Understandable, yeah. When you've done as much as you've done, obviously a lot of it can kind of blur together. But I remember you before the show, we were talking about this, and there's one story I think you have to share, was the story of how the Tengu song came about, because I think they need to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes.
So just to be clear, Haim Saban and I, everywhere I've ever gone, including, the last Nickelodeon show, I always deal with the top guy, in that case, the show creator. At Saban, any chance I could deal directly with Haim, we got along great. Even when I left, there was no hard feelings. It was everybody in between us that caused all the problems. But so every time, Haim was incredibly abrupt with his meetings, because the guy's making $1 billion a year. He really is a genius, and he's very busy. So if you get called for a meeting, you show up a few minutes early. If the meeting is at 3 p.m., it starts at precisely 3 p.m. And when he's done, he would go, thank you, bye-bye. Thank you, bye-bye. So they wanted a song for those crazy, wacky birds. And all I could hear is Haim Saban in my head going, thank you, goodbye. And I went, tango, goodbye. Tango, bye-bye. Tango, bye-bye. And so it turned into his, thick cross between Egyptian and Israeli accent. And that's how Tango, bye-bye. It's Haim Saban asking me to leave quickly at the end of the meeting. I told you, every song's a personal story.
Wow.
Ooh, good question here from Cure Crystal, because I know a lot of people, including a certain other Power Rangers fan named Linkara, who would want to hear about this one. There was a song from season 3 where Bulk and Skull were training to become police officers. Shape It Up. Do we know what's happened to that song? Because that needs to be released.
I do not have a copy of it. The only things, because back then it was so much work, we would everything was recorded to two-inch tape machines. Then it was mixed down to a digital audio tape. And then there was a staff that would make backups of that stuff. I didn't have access to those machines, but occasionally I could get the guy to make me copies to take home. So I only ever got like the main songs that I did, which I, obviously transferred over to a bunch of hard drives later on. But stuff like that, I don't have any copies. And they'll never, and nobody does, because even when they did Shattered Grid, they have the little vignettes in there of the old Power Ranger stuff. The masters don't exist. So he had to pay a guy to go in and take those scenes and remove the music underneath it, which, you can do now, just to get the dialogue out, because there aren't any even dialogue only tracks. And that goes back to when Disney bought it. Either Disney destroyed or lost all the masters. Oh, I'm sorry. Either Disney destroyed or lost all the masters up to that time. So none exist.
You know what? That actually explains a certain scene in a episode of Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Legacy of Power, their 500th episode, where they had to remix a version of Zio's theme for a certain scene that they were showing. And I was wondering, I think a lot of us wondered about that. That explains everything.
Yeah, they don't have it. It's gone. Same with everything I ever wrote. Now, back then, there were all little MIDI files that triggered actual synths. So it wasn't like the actual audio was gone. But I kept asking them, I'm like, I really need to start backing this stuff up. And they wouldn't cough up $2,500 for a hard drive. And that Mac fried one night. And so all the original MIDI for all the shows, maybe 300 episodes in Sweet Valley High, all the other stuff was just gone in an instant.
A pain I know all too well, Ron. I feel you on that.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
And quick story on my end. It's a very quick story. I volunteered at a radio station for a cup of coffee. We're recording radio ads, and not the computer itself, but the portable hard drive of the producer at that time. Mm-hmm. His hard drive fries, auto reformats. Oh. He had 20 years of work in that hard drive. So we feel your pain.
Yeah, I was very bummed out. On the good side, that's made me crazy good about backing up ever since. So now if I get called, like today, I've been working on a commercial, and ironically, they wanted kind of the Curb Your Enthusiasm sound. And I almost had a spin-off show that Seinfeld was producing, and they wanted that sound. And I have everything cataloged. I have like 150 hard drives, all numbered. I just typed in Seinfeld in the catalog, and I knew what drive everything was on. It's redundant. Pulled it up and had all my files from 2008 instantly. So it taught me a lesson, that's for sure.
Can't believe Disney did that. Don, could you hit another button for me for Disney screw up? Could you do Sandler?
Sandler? Oh, yeah, you got it. Sandler. You got it.
You blew it!
Yeah. And it's a real shame, because it would have been, what a great thing to go back to the original first couple of years and remix those shows. I mean, they would sound so much better than they sounded back then, because if I'm not I'm probably mistaken, but they might be mono. Or they were delivered both ways, maybe. I know still things were being delivered just one channel with everything. It was pretty horrible sounding.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, shit happens. What can you do? It's gone.
Indeed.
That's true.
All right, so we are coming up on the end. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have one last question that I always like to ask is, obviously you've got more stuff in the future. Obviously you can't reveal everything because there's NDAs. We know how that is. But is there anything that you can hype up for the future, or as I like to say, what can we expect from Ron Wasserman as we head towards the future?
The only thing I can discuss now is there's, and you find it on Facebook, or I think you can just go to the nothing, nothing.com. And that is a huge RPG cyberpunk game that I'm working on. And it's really starting to come together, and we'll go into pre-beta testing in another month or so. And, probably about a year before that one's ready to go. That's the only one that he's advertising it openly, and there's no non-disclosure agreements on that. And there's 4 or 5 other projects that are coming. One's going to be a remake of a 90s Nintendo game it's going to be really fun. And a couple serious movies. And I'm also working on another crime show that I can't say the title of. I've done a couple with this producer Dick Wolf, who did Law and Order and whatnot. He's got another new one coming out, and I had done one with him called Criminal Confessions, which it's like one of those cable shows. They all have their niche markets now, so it has a huge following, but I haven't met anybody who watched it yet. And then so we're going into season 3 on that, and then there's another new one that's way darker, and I just finished the theme on that. I'm just waiting confirmation, which I'll get on Monday, but they said, you've got it. I can't announce it till next week.
Understandable, but still awesome to see. It's good to know that you're still getting work. You obviously deserve a lot of love here. And speaking of course, if you guys want to follow Ron, of course, he has his website, ronw.com. Make sure you guys head over to that. He does have a Twitter, Fisher the Band. Make sure you guys follow that as well. You said you also have a Facebook, I believe?
Yeah, I think it's just Ron Wasserman. You'll be able to tell it's me. I got that little blue check.
Yes, he is verified, folks. So look him up on Facebook, Twitter, any other social media. Just give this guy a follow. He deserves all kinds of love right now. But I think that's going to do it for us here. Ron, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. It has been an honor and a pleasure to blast.
It's been great. I appreciate it so much.
Applaud this man. Take a bow. You've earned it. Good
applause,
sir.
applause.
Yes. This has been a trip and a half. And, of course, make sure you guys also look up his Bandcamp, because this guy, he still has a lot of his music, including the Power Rangers Remix album, which we've promoted many times here in the description of our video here. So definitely get some love for that. Give this man Matty. He's earned it.
Stream.
Yep.
Indeed. Anyway, that is going to do it for us here tonight. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you indeed enjoyed tonight's show and you haven't done so already, make sure you give us a follow here on Twitch so you can keep up with all our streams and more. And if you can, subscribe to get access to our exclusive Twitch emotes and our VIP Discord channels, as well as our little fancy loyalty badges that we've got recently. So make sure you do that. And of course, if you want to know what's happening the rest of this week here on RVTV, hit ! schedule in the chat so you can see what all our streams are coming up. Always a good idea. But in the meantime, we want to thank you guys for joining us as always. Easy, play us out, my friend.
Thank you, John. So yeah, that's going to do it for us on the Ranger Recap tonight. Again, Ron, big thanks. Don't be a stranger. Please, we would love to have you back again sometime.
Anytime.
Especially when Hasbro comes calling. We're optimistic around here. Let us dream.
On. We could, me and Noam, we could have a good fight.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Booking for WrestleMania.
Book it.
Booking for WrestleMania.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, until then, that's going to do it for the recap. Until then, I'm Easy Rider wondering, what was the greatest thing before sliced bread?
Betty White.
Yes! It's not wrong. That's true. She was around before.
That's true. Yep. I do have a couple jokes. I picked a few musical inclined jokes for you, Ron.
All right.
You guys hear about the guy who walks into a bar? Yeah. I'm starting with one of these. And he asks the bartender if he'll give him a free beer for an amazing trick. Bartender agrees. Guy pulls out a hamster with a little piano that starts playing perfect Gershwin, like amazingly. The bartender is impressed, so he gives him a beer. And so the man asks for another one. It's like, will you give me another one? And the bartender says, no, another trick or no beer. So the man reaches into his other pocket and he pulls out a frog that starts singing perfect baritone. A man in a silk suit sees it from across the bar and he's like, I'll give you $500 for that frog. He agrees, and the man in the suit runs out the door all happy. And the bartender's like, are you nuts? You could have made a fortune with that frog. And he's like, no, it's okay. The hamster's also a ventriloquist.
Wow.
But it's still funny.
Okay, I got one. Well, I kind of had to rework this one, but guy walks into a pet shop looking for a last-minute gift for his family, and he sees a parrot for sale. He asks the clerk, what's this parrot's name? And the clerk tells him it's Chet. Tells him that it's an amazing parrot. If you put a lighter under it, his left foot or anywhere on his body, he'll start singing songs. And so he shows him. The man thinks it's the coolest thing he's ever seen. He decides to buy it for his wife. So he gets Chet home, puts him away, but he wonders what will happen if he puts the match between his legs. So he tries it, he lights a fire under him, and the parrot starts singing, Chet's nuts roasting on an open fire. I'm Easy Rider, reminding you that the fan sub will never die. We are your Ranger Recappers. We will see you next time, and as always, you got a problem in life? Hashtag just add more facts. And as always, may the power protect you. We'll see you next time.
Special thanks to my patrons like Voice for their donations. Pledge today so you can keep these streams going. Also thanks to Easy's patrons, including Chris Lee, Chris Frolls, Michael Antignano, Stephen Harris, Galen Hanna, Alonzo Tompkins, Anthony Guidman, Matthew Goling Long, Dino, and super shout out to Eric Vaughn and Shane Thompson for their support.